I can still hear you. Yep. Perfect. Oh yeah, for sure. We're both in a better boat here. Ten four. Right on. Jordy, so you know the fuel window is 30 to 31 laps.
Good morning, Philip. Time for an oil change. Remember last time?
I'd rather not.
Took 3 hours. You forgot little Henry's video game. You're not as entertaining as a video game, Philip.
Silence your oil change anxiety at Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Get an expert oil change in about 15 minutes with no appointment needed.
Thanks for coming in.
Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Service you can see, experts you can trust.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to round 6 of the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR series presented by Valvoline Instant Oil Change. And tonight, we're in the Midwest, and somehow we're avoiding tornadoes, but we're going to get some wind here with the Valvoline 200, live from the Kentucky Speedway in Sparta, Kentucky. And this might not be Sparta, but I am still very much Jordy Carraher here on the broadcast, and we're back in full force here, I think, after, a couple of weeks getting our feet wet here again. So Yeah, ready to bring you an entertaining evening at this 1.5 mile track, and we'll get into some of the particulars here in a minute. But first, we got to go back to last week where we had a thrilling ending to last week's Nordic Aluminum 200 from the Echo Park Speedway in Hampton, Georgia. And in the end, it was the number 60 Warrior Racing Ford of Justin Belmonte out of East Patchogue, New York, who was able to pick up the win with a clever move there in the final round of pit stops. Able to jump then race leader Mike Marini going into pit lane and able to emerge afterward. And he was able to hold on with some stout defense, and it turns out to be his 6th victory of his E-Motorsports Network career. And yeah, it was a close battle at the end between Belmonte, 2nd place Adam Wilson, the aforementioned 3rd place Mike Marini, and 4th place John Williams very much in the mix there as well. And you see certainly a lot of attrition there over the course of the evening, with just 8 drivers remaining on the lead lap when all was said and done. And among them is our championship leader, Jordan Kalinian, and he extended his lead, as you'll see here in our updated driver standings. So Kalinian now with a 36-point gap over 2nd place Bryce Fontaine. And that's through 5 races of this season. So we're looking at, still another couple of months until we're in the playoffs, but certainly some comfortable territory for both Kalinian and Fontaine. Certainly you can throw Blake Thronberg into that category as well. Now, toward the bubble, obviously still very early to be looking at that, but definitely a couple of things to watch out for. You have a tie for 13th with Matt McDonald turning in a strong performance last week, along with the aforementioned John Williams, who finished in that top 4. And you'll see a gap of, if we do some live math here, 10 points separating 13th from 18th. So even though it's early, there's still some immediate competition, and that'll be worth watching over the course of the next couple of months, particularly that bubble spot, 16th, currently occupied by one Lee Campbell, who led some laps at Echo Park last week, but ultimately was taken out in one of the cautions that we had. And last week, of course, was the opener for our in-season challenge as well, so we'll take a look at those standings. And as you might have guessed, certainly in the order of last week's results, no stage points accounted for in that. And after tonight, the top 16 in terms of points after these last 2 races will advance in the in-season challenge to next week when we hit the Daytona Road Course for the first time. And there you see the progression from Daytona Road Course. After that, the top 8 will continue competing in Kansas before finishing off in Phoenix in about a month's time. There is a week off in there somewhere. And, we're looking forward to getting through this month of June. But I know, we're certainly getting used to some more intensity here on the track as more guys get familiar with one another once again. And now we speak of familiarity. That's a bit of an irony here tonight, because we haven't been to Kentucky since season 2, which was way back in the NASCAR heat days. So not yesterday. And for, the record on that one, we're not going to have a frame of reference as to how this track operates on the iRacing side of things, at least not within the E-Motorsports network. So definitely some variables to keep in mind, as we still have a few minutes now before we get into qualifying here, and it's your standard 2-lap shootout over the course of 5 minutes. Best lap obviously will be the one that stands. And yeah, as I say, we've still got a few minutes here. May have jumped the gun a little bit, admittedly, on when I needed to go live, but here we are. And while we're waiting, feel free to jump into the chat here and let me know where you're watching from. I, for one, for those uninitiated, am broadcasting from Prince Edward Island, which some people consider to be the Canadian equivalent of Kentucky. And reasoning for that is because of the devout passion here for harness racing, whether it's, in our capital city of Charlottetown, second biggest city of Summerside, very passionate harness racing community from tip to tip here on Prince Edward Island. And of course, we may not be running for roses here tonight, but there'll be certainly plenty of horsepower exerted over the course of the evening. So with that in mind, I'll step away for a quick second. We'll hear from tonight's race sponsor and, of course, our series title sponsor, Valvoline Instant Oil Change, one more time. And on the other side, we'll be just that much closer to getting into qualifying mode as the Valvoline 200 from Kentucky Speedway is set to kick off here shortly.
Good morning, Philip. Time for an oil change. Remember last time?
I'd rather not.
Took 3 hours. You forgot Little Henry's video game. You're not as entertaining as a video game, Philip.
Silence your oil change anxiety at Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Get an expert oil change in about 15 minutes with no appointment needed.
Thanks for coming in.
Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Service you can see, experts you can trust.
All right, let's go ahead and make things a little bit more lively here in terms of natural sound, and we'll go ahead and throw our leaderboard up here. Of course, nothing of significance happening at the moment. Field's looking like 18 drivers right now, as again, we still have a couple minutes before the formal qualifying session begins. And a small note for those following along as well over the last couple of days. I mentioned a couple of times in the past being very thankful for the guys at Leadfoot Racing stepping up over the last few weeks, or the first few weeks of the season, I should say. And now we were able to work out a deal that has a collaborator feature on their streams, so they're now available on our E-Motorsports Network YouTube channel as well, with the collaborator tag on that. So again, thank you so much to the guys at Leadfoot for sharing that and being able to work that out, as now we've got our complete listing back online again, as we're just over a minute left in this practice session. You're looking at lap times just a hair over 30 seconds right now. And relatively close all the way through the field. Matter of fact, less than half a second separating the entirety of our 18-car field right now. Of course, like anything, it's very much subject to change. And we'll see what happens when the times actually start to count and matter here shortly. And like I said, it should be a very interesting evening here at Kentucky Speedway. Again, given the fact that we haven't raced it since Season 2. So really, honestly, no frame of reference for our drivers within this particular environment. Certainly they would have their own experiences outside of the E-Motorsports Network fray, perhaps. But yeah, for us, last time we were at Kentucky, 2021, and once again, that was back in the NASCAR heat days, so not yesterday. As that'll throw the checkered flag out for early practice. And we should be switching over to the lone qualifying session here shortly. Looks like a pretty quick turnaround. And now we'll see the rubber hit the road here in earnest. And we'll go on board with the man who's taken over the lion's share of the administrative duties within the E-Motorsports Network for this season, the number 41 of Jose Mercado out of Kissimmee, Florida, driving the GTR Motorsports Ford with the Valvoline Instant Oil Change livery. There we go. Maybe do a little bit of audio mixing along the way here. Make sure I'm not getting drowned out too much. As Mercado makes his way through, and he's set to begin his hot lap. So, let's see how he does here as he slings it around turns 1 and 2. Should be a fairly comfortable, fairly wide open track here for our drivers tonight. And again, as a reminder for those perhaps uninitiated, Mercado very much not the only driver on the track at the moment. As, well, matter of fact, you see Jordan Kalinian at the top of the board. He's got a time of, had a time, I should say, of 30.673, but it's Mason Tomlinson was on the pole, and Mercado's now eclipsed him. We should have stayed with Mercado, kept the faith there. He's on pole right now with a time of 30.38 seconds. Provisionally, he'll have Blake Thronberg on his outside. But we still have 8 drivers yet to post times. And you see the times slowly starting to creep onto the board. 5 drivers left to show. Mercado still on pole position right now. And just 2 drivers left to, or 3, excuse me, left to qualify. Ryan O'Toole, Matt McDonald, and John Williams. Let's see if we can go on board with any of them. Does not appear any of those 3 are on track right now, so not sure if maybe they just won't be putting in any qualifying laps or how that's going to work. But again, it's a very quiet couple minutes we're looking at here, as it looks like we had a little bit of movement there just a moment ago. Again, maybe not the most ideal presentation in this particular situation as we try to figure out what exactly is going on. But yeah, it certainly looks like our qualifying order's in place. And if that's the case, that would mean the number 41 of Jose Mercado grabs pole position. And let's see if I have any historical numbers to see just how many pole positions that would be. I don't have that right on me, but that should be a side project for me moving forward, making sure that we do have pole sitters accounted for. But certainly I would suggest it's been a long time coming for the number 41, who's definitely looked more and more confident on the iRacing side of things over the last couple of seasons as we've gotten more acclimated to it. And he's finding himself in more competitive spots. And for anyone who followed within the NASCAR Heat era, he was a fixture at the top of the boards, making 2 out of 3 championship 4s in that time. And it looks like we had one more time set there. Yeah, Matt McDonald's hopping into 15th. Again, the gap between 1st and 16th, who is Ryan Gibson, who, oddly enough, is the only driver in the field who has won an E-Motorsports Network race at Kentucky before, way back in Season 1. One of his 6 wins that year en route to the inaugural Earl Ross Cup. But tonight he finds himself 0.46 seconds back of pole position right now, as qualifying has come to an end. So we will hop that off for a moment, and hopefully, despite the King of the Hill-esque light change there, should be able to pop into pit lane relatively shortly. And indeed, you do see cars gridding up. Slowly but surely. And again, it's looking like an 18 car field here tonight. So maybe not as much congestion, and it should allow for some, relatively smooth long runs here, but we'll see how tonight progresses.
I'll let you know when to roll the starting grid.
We're just awaiting word from race control as to when we can roll the starting grid officially. Not too much longer here now. And while we're waiting, we'll take a quick look at our weather forecast for the evening. It's looking, like a fairly balmy evening. Track not, a shocking temperature. 25 Celsius in the air, 27 on the track itself. And you figure that would most likely stay there or even get a little bit cooler. So that allows for some predictability with the tires themselves. And, not, a fully humid evening at 51% as we simulate dynamic weather. And really not a whole lot of wind to worry about. So should be, by all accounts, a fairly smooth evening, but you never know until they actually hit the track themselves.
All right, start rolling the starting grid.
And on that note, we will go ahead and introduce you to tonight's starting grid. And as mentioned on pole, it will be the number 41 GTR Motorsports Ford of Jose Mercado out of Kissimmee, Florida. Again, repping the title sponsor here for the series, Valvoline Instant Oil Change. And on his outside, he's got some particularly elite company in the form of the defending Earl Ross Cup champion, Blake Thronberg, driving for Control Alt Defeat Motorsports out of Graham, North Carolina, in the Chevy sponsored by Thronberg Construction. On to row 2, where we have last week's winner, Justin Belmonte, out of East Patchogue, New York, driving his Warrior Racing Ford. And on the outside will be the number 13 Blue Collar Racing Chevy of Jared Ireland out of Eudora, Kansas. On to row 3 now, where we have last week's runner-up, the number 21 Tornado Alley E-Racing Toyota of Adam Wilson out of Del Mar, Delaware, with sponsorship from Budweiser and Mount Air Fresh Young Chicken. On his outside, starting 6th, we head back to Eudora, Kansas to find the Hyperdrive Esports Toyota of Mason Tomlinson, with sponsorship from Napa and Moser Racing. On to row 4 now, where we have the number 42 Ford of Tyler Fitzsimmons out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. And on the outside is the number 29 GTR Motorsports Toyota of Mario Ercolani, with sponsorship from RaceEPI.com. And he's joining us from Parsonsfield, Maine tonight. On to row 5, where we have series leader Jordan Kalinian in the 00 Control Alt Defeat Motorsports Toyota out of Salisbury, North Carolina. And of course, our all-time race wins leader, as confirmed a couple weeks ago. On his outside, to round out the top 10, is the number 1 of CD Mangrum, driving his Tornado Alley Racing Toyota out of Atlanta, Georgia, with sponsorship from Nordic Aluminum. Onto the back half of the grid now, where we find on row 6 the number 12 Toyota of Mike Marini out of Thunder Bay, Ontario. And on his outside, we head to Appleton, Wisconsin, where we find the number 93 Big T Motorsports Chevy of Tom Janikowski. And, okay, making sure there wasn't a sponsor listed there, and we're good. So, on to row 7 now. And we find the number 15 of Kyle Knowles starting in 13th in his Toyota out of Raleigh, North Carolina. Certainly, some celebrations there last night, looking to replicate the efforts of the Carolina Hurricanes, with sponsorship from Storm Surge Esports, Cheerwine, and Race Lab. And on his outside, a guy we haven't seen in a couple weeks, and I haven't actually seen in person as they finally roll off the grid, or roll out of pit lane, I should say. It's Scott Bailey driving his Blue Collar Racing Chevy in the number 8. And of course, he's a defending Earl Ross Cup champion as well. Or
we'll be going green this lap.
For
so
Earl Ross Cup. And
go through this.
Final couple rows here as we go to the field. I'm trying to get this. 15th, Matt McDonald in the number 25 Ford out of Calgary, Alberta. On his outside, defending, or Season 1 Earl Ross Cup champion Ryan Gibson in the Blue Collar Racing Chevy. And again, past winner Kentucky way back in season 1. Final row, John Williams out of Moyock, North Carolina, driving for Mid-Pack Motorsports. And rounding out the field is the number 16 of Ryan O'Toole out of Portland, Oregon. So that gives us just enough time to clear out, as being told we're going green here this time around. And all eyes will go to the pole sitter, Jose Mercado, as the pace car dives off. He's got control of the field now as we hop into the restart zone. And here we go. Decent takeoff there from Mercado as tonight's Valvoline 200's underway. Thronberg looking good on that outside line, though. Belmonte trying to get a bit of a run on that lower line. We'll see how everything shakes out. Looks like a relatively clean start here so far. Mercado able to make the move up high. Thronberg potentially trying to go low into 3, though. And just like that, there's an early lead change. Defending Earl Ross Cup champ Blake Thronberg is your race leader. We'll see if he hangs on through the opening lap. And indeed he does as we begin lap 2. Seems like a good time for us to go into some of the actual race analysis here. What you can expect over the course of the evening. 133 laps around this 1.5-mile track. First 2 stages are 40 laps apiece and 53 for the third stage. 45 mile per hour pit road speed. Fuel window, you're looking at 30 to 31 laps, which means you're guaranteed 1 green flag pit stop in each of the 3 stages here tonight, so strategy will come into play. And of course, no past race winner from last season anyway. Again, you have to go all the way back to season 2 for the last time we were at Kentucky, where it was Jonathan Peden, the old Gator. He picked up the W here on this track. So with that all set, let's go ahead and focus back on our leaders. Mercado trying to get a run out of 4. The guys giving each other some space here, and it looks like Mercado has reclaimed the lead. On to lap 4 now of 133. And again, everything looking relatively peaceful, it has to be said so far. And perhaps not necessarily unexpected given the contrast of what we typically experience at Atlanta, where we were a week ago. As Thronberg and Belmonte got a good run off of that high line. So
going real loose off of 4.
Yeah, looks like Mercado had to save it there a moment ago. We'll see if we can go back and take another look at that. And indeed we are. I'm trying to get the ticker off here to indicate that it is in fact a replay. And not sure why it's on Adam Wilson. So let's get a look at Mercado. Yeah, there's that bit of a loose moment, and it was more than enough to see him fall back to half a dozen positions here as we'll go back live. And we'll see how the recovery goes for the 41 as he finds himself in 6th place. Blake Thronberg with some clear air is a dangerous proposition on any track, let alone this one here this evening. So Thronberg's your race leader, Justin Belmonte 3rd. Jared Ireland's picked up a few spots here already. Into 3rd, Belmonte 2nd. My apologies on that. Adam Wilson 4th. Mason Tomlinson rounds out your top 5. And again, Jose Mercado looking to recover down in 6th. He'll have Jordan Kalinian on his tail here in 7th. CD Mangrum 8th. Mario Arcolani 9th. And right now, it's Tyler Fitzsimmons rounding out the top 10. And as a reminder, we're coming up on lap 8, and as we'll be doing for the entirety of the season, lap 8's our opportunity to pay homage to the rowdy one, Kyle Busch, whenever we get there. There we go. And we'll bring it back live here as we're on to lap 9 of 133 here in tonight's Valvoline 200. Focus right now is on Matt McDonald in the number 25 Ford out of Calgary, Alberta, currently running in 15th place. See how the field's looking from his perspective as we see things getting gradually darker. Eventually we'll see those lights turn on. And I'll be curious to see how the drivers approach the green flag pit stop here tonight, assuming that no shenanigans happen between now and what the expected window would be. Whether the drivers are tempted to just split the stage in half, which we've definitely seen before, or want to run long. I'm sure there'll be some different plays here over the course of the evening. As we'll bring it back up to Mason Tomlinson, currently running in 3rd place. Tomlinson, the lone hyperdrive esports driver here in the field tonight. No Will Kern or Bryce Fontaine, who I understand is going to be out for a few weeks, so you'll see him drop from 2nd place. But it's a prime opportunity for Tomlinson to be able to further assert himself in his own challenge over the course of this. Yeah, no, that's not what I wanted. Yeah, I didn't realize that was going to go live in that time. I thought I had it in the background, so my apologies on that. As we're on lap 12 of 133. Of course, 40 laps in this opening stage here again as a reminder. And let's see here. Let's pop back to the number 29 of Mario Ercolani out of Parsonsfield, Maine. Currently running in 9th place, so smack dab in the middle of the field. And again, you can definitely see the varying degrees of light depending on where you are on the track. 1 and 2, it just looks awfully bright. But it seems like maybe a little bit more comfortable. Well, I say that. Sun kind of in the eyes there coming through 3. Or 4, I should say, as Ercolani completes another lap. And as he does that, we'll go on board with our pole sitter, Jose Mercado, who, again, finds himself down in 6th after that earlier loose moment coming out of 4. And certainly, the old adage is applicable here. Can't win the race on the first laps. You can certainly lose it though, and it looks like Mercado's gotten things back under control after that initial slip, and he's content to just hang behind Adam Wilson and Jared Ireland right now, just outside the top 5. And notably, the limited field here tonight should provide some opportunities for drivers to make their moves as the top 16, remember, advance in the in-season challenge after tonight. Tonight's sort of the last race where everybody's eligible to be in it. And it looked like Mercado had a nice little run there out of 2 right onto the back of Ireland. We'll see if he makes a move into 3 for 5th. Might not be on just yet. It looks like Ireland gets a comfortable run out of 4. And on we march on to lap 17 out of 40 here. So nearing the halfway point of this opening stage. And again, that might be where you see some initial pit strategy come into play because, again, 30 to 31 laps of fuel is the expectation. Wouldn't be necessarily worried about the tires here tonight, though, as, Mercado getting in real close there with Ireland. Maybe getting a little hungrier for that top 5 spot in the early going. And just content to hold on there for the time being. Might help if I press the right button to change the camera. There we go. And we'll Check in on last week's race winner here, Justin Belmonte out of East Patchogue, New York. Again, as soon as I hit the right button, there we go. As actually, it looked like Mercado was shaping for the move on Ireland. Here, they're side by side. Maybe a little contact there. But that one would fall firmly under Rubbins Racing, and that's Jose Mercado into the top 5. So again, we came back at the right time for that particular battle, and we'll head up a couple of places now for Justin Belmonte running in second. Roughly half a second back of leader Blake Thronberg. Well, down to 4/10 here now. As we're at the halfway point of this opening stage here, lap 20 of 40. And again, it's fair to be patient over the course of the evening here. So Belmonte looks like he's in a comfortable spot and very content to tuck in behind Blake Thronberg at the moment. Although, again, that deficit is decreasing here slightly, down to 0.3 of a second. And comfortably holding off the challenge of Mason Tomlinson behind him in third. And while that's happening, let's take a peek on a guy who's steadily creeping through the field. That'd be the number 8 of Scott Bailey out of Allendale, Michigan. Was in 10th. Tyler Fitzsimmons just overtook him there, as you see. Now down in 11th, but that's already a few spots for Bailey here this evening. Again, the defending Earl, or why do I keep saying defending? A former Earl Ross Cup champion back in season 4, our first in the iRacing era. And again, he's steadily made his way through the field, started 14th, so he's grabbed a few spots along the way. Trying to snag a point for himself, at least, as he's just outside the top 10 in this opening stage. And let's just head back to the head of the field now with our race leader, Blake Thronberg. Starting to
We got
open
the
up
first
that
pit
gap.
stops happening.
And we're headed to pit lane here now, it would appear. Let's see who we've got coming. That would appear to be Kyle Knoll headed in. If that'll actually let me go to him. Might help if I changed correct camera. I'm trying to get there. So Adam Wilson and Kyle Knoll both into pit lane. They're the first to jump. We'll see what kind of response the field provides. As we're on board with Wilson for his pit stop. And CD Mangram's in now as well. And it looks like Tom Janikowski in the background as well. So slowly but surely, you're starting to see drivers trickle in. With a little bit of room here, it has to be said, within the fuel window. As we'll bring it back to the head of the field. Blake Thronberg stays out for another, and why not? He is cooking at the moment. 6/10 clear of second place, Justin Belmonte. As Mason Tomlinson's made his way in. Again, he was running third. So he's going to pop in for a quick service. And while that's going on, again, we'll head back out to the track for Justin Belmonte in second. Getting some more separation through the field as we're starting to see the pit stops trickle through the field. See if either of our leaders come in, because we've got a good view of Thronberg up ahead as well. Again, realistically, we're looking at somewhere in the ballpark of the next 5 laps for them coming in regardless. As might be a bit of an ambitious thing to try a fuel stretch here this early on. No real sense in that. As now we will go back to the number 25 of Matt McDonald, trying to get onto the back of Mike Marini in an all-Canadian battle here on the track. 8th and 9th, respectively, run Marini and McDonald. As it looks like Ryan O'Toole's in pit lane, Jared Ireland in as well. Or rather, re-emerging onto the track. And so we'll check in for the first time tonight with our series leader, Jordan Kalinian, running in 4th. And he's yet to stop either. And as I say that, of course, that would be the time that he comes in. Thronberg and Belmonte stay out. So they're running long. Everyone else opting to not quite fully exercise the fuel window. And just trying to take a peek here to see who's still yet to come in. But you got a big exodus here of drivers on pit lane, including previous leader Blake Thronberg. Jose Mercado in right behind. And you also have Scott Bailey and Tyler Fitzsimmons. There's Fitzsimmons in the background. And Bailey emerging from pit lane now. Justin Belmonte coming in from the race lead. So, means that Mario Ercolani will temporarily inherit the lead. But again, we're looking at still some pit stops to come, I would think. I would imagine it would cycle out to... Well, I was gonna say to Thronberg, but I think Belmonte might have thrown a bit of a curveball here on pit lane, unless he hasn't re-emerged yet, which is entirely possible. There he goes. But again, here's our race leader right now, the number 29 GTR Motorsports Toyota of Mario Ercolani out of Parsonsfield, Maine. And I'll be curious to see, again, it feels like it would be ambitious to try and stretch the fuel so early on, but Ercolani's tried it before, so wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility for him. Although, as I say that, there he goes into pit lane, along with McDonald and, it would appear, Ryan Gibson and John Williams. So they've gone as far as they can go. And again, that means, theoretically, that Justin Belmonte should be inheriting the race lead. And again, there may be some alternate strategies in play here, as again, it was Blake Thronberg who led going into the pit stops. But it looks like Belmonte and Ireland may have done something a little bit different as they come around to begin lap 34 of 133. Wonder if maybe it was either a short fuel or 2 tires, no tires perhaps. Again, relatively cool evening here at the Kentucky Speedway, so entirely possible that the tires could be lasting longer than anticipated. But again, this is our battle for the lead here toward the end of this stage. On to lap 35 now, so it'll be 5 left in the opening stage once we get back to the line. And we'll check in now with the number 15 of Kyle Knoll, again out of Raleigh, North Carolina, perhaps still celebrating the Carolina Hurricanes Stanley Cup triumph from last night. Certainly a hard-earned victory for the guys in red and black. Meanwhile, speaking of champions, we'll head back to our reigning Earl Ross Cup champ, Blake Thronberg, as he seems to be trying to catch the tail of Jared Ireland for second. 9/10 back of leader Justin Belmonte right now. And we're looking at 4 laps remaining now in the stage, so we'll see if Thronberg has the time to be able to make up that remaining gap. Would be coming into some dirty air. Meanwhile, Ryan Gibson in pit lane. May have to check on that one as he was in earlier. Ditto with Scott Bailey as well, still a lap down. So not 100% sure what's going on with Gibby there. Again, Season 1 Earl Ross Cup champ and the lone previous Kentucky winner within our particular league in the field. As Thronberg's catching this lead pair. It'll be 2 to go in the stage once they hit the line this time around. And we'll take a look from his perspective as the gap closes down. Coming out of 4, back to the start finish. And it's 2 laps to go now in the opening stage of tonight's Valvoline 200. As they pass Gibson making his way out of pit lane. Wonder if there was some damage sustained by the 23 somewhere along the way. And again, you see Thronberg bearing down on this lead duo, but I don't know if he's going to have enough time to fully close the gap. As we're on to the final lap now, this opening stage. Justin Belmonte continues to lead. Again, doing some, I wouldn't even call it pit stop trickery, just smart strategy, it would appear, from the 60 and the 13. Again, appearing to have tried something different, and it appears to pay off in this stage. We'll see if Justin Belmonte can hang on at the line. Ireland might make a push on the outside, but it is not to be. Justin Belmonte takes the opening stage of tonight's Valvoline 200. Again, close encounter there with Jared Ireland at the end. Blake Thronberg, nice charge after the pit stop, but ultimately finishes in 3rd as the caution officially comes out. So that appears to be your top 10. Justin Belmonte wins the stage. Jared Ireland 2nd. Blake Thronberg 3rd. Jordan Kalinian 4th. Adam Wilson completes the top 5. CD Mangrum 6th. Kyle Knoll 7th. Mason Tomlinson 8th. Mario Urcolani 9th. And how about that? Matt McDonald grabs the last stage point. He's 10th after stage 1. And that'll bring out our first competition caution of the... or first full caution of the evening. Of course, of the competition variety, or stage caution, I should say. And it appears it will be Scott Bailey getting waved around onto the lead lap here to begin stage 2. And again, pit stops just happened not that long ago, so we'll see if anyone dives in. In the meantime, we'll go ahead and take a quick break. Again, we'll hear from our title sponsor, Valvoline Instant Oil Change. And as well, we'll wait until they're off of pit lane to do that sponsor shout out, because seems like an awfully good time to be able to take a look at who's going to emerge first. So let's grab that angle. We'll grab it from our pole sitter's position. Notably, let's see who's staying out first.
Nobody stayed out. It's just the lap down cars.
Okay, so, yep, confirmation, just the lap down cars staying out, as that's leader Jose Mercado into his pit box. We'll get a good look at who's able to emerge first from this angle.
I'm wrong. Tyler Fitzsimmons stayed out.
And, okay, it sounds like Fitzsimmons stayed out, and we'll get a look from pit lane as who came out first, and it looks like Jared Ireland has won that race out. So, as we bring it back to the pace car on track, the pace car on track, there we go. As they go ahead and get gridded up, we're anticipating probably one more lap before the restart. So now we'll go ahead and hit that sponsor shout out to our title at Valvoline Instant Oil Change. And we'll be back to begin Stage 2 of tonight's Valvoline 200 from Kentucky Speedway as part of the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR Series on the iRacing service right here on YouTube. So we'll be back in 30 seconds.
Good morning, Philip. Time for an oil change. Remember last time?
I'd rather not.
Took 3 hours. You forgot Little Henry's video game. You're not as entertaining as a video game, Philip.
Silence your oil change anxiety at Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Get an expert oil change in about 15 minutes with no appointment needed.
Thanks for coming in.
Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Service you can see, experts you can trust.
All right, we're back here to begin Stage 2 of tonight's Valvoline 200. I think I may have gotten a setting adjusted there that time around. So hopefully the internal race controls no longer in play. And this should be an interesting restart here. Tyler Fitzsimmons, the lone driver to stay out, so we'll see if he's a little bit of a sitting duck here on the restart, given you would imagine everyone else has gotten full service. But we'll find out soon enough as the pace car has taken its cue. It's off the track. Fitzsimmons now in control. And Field's getting bunched up. There's Fitzsimmons. Nice getaway there from the 42. And we're back underway here in tonight's Valvoline 200. Fitzsimmons immediately grabbing the high line here. Adam Wilson with a nice start. Ireland kind of in no man's land on that high line. Maybe definitely some wall contact there from a couple of cars coming through. But everybody's pointing in the right direction, so on we go. And again, Fitzsimmons holds the lead for now. But looking like he's gotten off to, again, a really good start here. He's got some distance between himself and Adam Wilson for the time being. But we'll see if this field swallows them up here eventually. Maybe a little bit of a loose moment there for Ireland coming out of 2. But again, Fitzsimmons out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, hanging on for the moment. Although Jared Ireland may have something to say about that here relatively shortly, as it looks like he's gotten his wits back about him, or the car back underneath him. And he finds himself getting underneath Fitzsimmons coming out of 2. Drag race down the back straight. Jared Ireland's your new leader in that Boot Hill Distillery distinctive livery. Say that one 3 times fast. Distillery distinctive livery. I barely got through it once. But now Ireland's gotten through our previous leader, and he's now setting the pace here, and that makes him roughly the 4th or 5th leader. We'll check the race summary to confirm. 5th different leader here on track. 7 lead changes already over the course of the evening. As we will go ahead and focus our attention now on battle for 7th place here between last week's race winner Justin Belmonte, who's back in 8th now, had briefly dropped to 9th. But it's Jose Mercado, Justin Belmonte, Mason Tomlinson in there as well. Although Jordan Kalinian trying to sneak up a spot or 2 on that inside line ahead of them. Looks like he's gotten into the top 5, covers off Wilson. And again, relatively smooth sailing here so far. 16 of our 18 drivers remain on the lead lap. Not a great night to be named Ryan here, as both Gibson and O'Toole are 2 laps down at the back of the field. But again, looking like fairly tight quarters out there, but enough respect given throughout. Nothing insane's happened, although clearly we had a tap there. Oh, Kalinian spun around Wilson. And that's going to be our first in-race caution of the evening. Let's throw it back to Jordan Kalinian, give or take 30 seconds. Let's have ourselves a look at what happened. As, again, we'll take the ticker off, put our focus on Kalinian as he's coming through 1. And, yeah, just Fitzsimmons skidded off the wall, and that sent him into Kalinian. And ultimately, that made the difference. So, again, we'll take a closer look at that. We'll get it from the point of view of, again, Jordan Kalinian this time. So you see he's got the inside line, and it happens just as they come across the start finish. Coming into 1, I don't really see a push. Yeah, there's the skid. And again, Wilson gets collected behind him. And not ideal circumstances for either driver there, to say the very least. And we'll see what the damage winds up being with our first in-race caution of the evening, lap 52 of 133. And that's going to result in a parade to the pit lane here, and being told it's going to be an EOL penalty on Tyler Fitzsimmons for that incident. Again, we do have the benefit of live race control, as you guys sure sounds like it would have heard that during stage 1. As now we have the lion's share of the field in, and this is an ideal time for full service here potentially, as Jose Mercado is going to get out of pit lane here first. So our pole sitter playing a little bit of a strategy game here perhaps, and he finds himself back in the race lead. And so, let's see how this shakes out here. Certainly, O'Toole probably headed into pit lane this time around. Or certainly, we'd expect a wave around of some descript here. He had been 2 laps down, now showing 1 lap down. And let's just go ahead and check on our pace car here. No lights, so yeah, O'Toole's going to get waved around. And now everybody's going to grid up. We're going to restart the proceedings here on lap 55. And again, for those of you who may be more mathematically inclined, theoretically on that caution, drivers would have been able to fuel up enough to get the rest of the stage in. And sounds like we're dealing with a connection issue perhaps with Mason Tomlinson as well. Looks like a black flag in that situation for the 4. As we'll take a quick peek. Actually can't access him on track. Oh, there he is. He's making his way back. Or he was. Let's see, not sure why it's not letting me go back. There we go. We're back to our field. And we'll bring it back to the head of the field where, again, it's our pole sitter, Jose Mercado, who's made his way back up to the front. He'll have Kyle Knoll on his outside on the restart. And the field bunches up. And we'll see when Mercado takes off. There he goes. And it's a great jump from the 41. Knoll unable to go with him. And CD Mangrum trying to make some noise there off the restart. Looks like he'll take that lower line. Stay in behind Ireland. But Jose Mercado again with a great jump off the line off of that restart. And he finds himself in the lead early. And it's looking fairly comfortable here right now. As we'll see if the drivers more or less settle down here. Not that it was crazy before, just the one caution, of course, from an incident. But I guess I meant that from the context of guys just trying to get into a rhythm at this point. And, ooh, that might have even looked like a little bit of a hop. That might have been just my eyes deceiving me there at the start-finish line. Not sure if the... Okay, so it wasn't just my eyes. Apparently there is a big bump on the apron that was drawing my attention. And Mercado navigates it smoothly. But he's got a challenge coming here in the form of Jared Ireland, who's looked really good here for the course of the evening. As we're now on lap 58 of 133, which just about brings us to the halfway point of this second stage. But again, it's Jose Mercado looking pretty comfortable out there, although Ireland might have some aspirations on the outside. But Mercado's able to hold him off up ahead. Nothing really to worry about there that time anyway. So by way of a quick reset, again, Jose Mercado still your leader. Jared Ireland second. Defending Earl Ross Cup champ Blake Thronberg in third. CD Mangrum fourth. Kyle Knoll is fifth. Dropped back a couple of spots after being second on the restart. John Williams is sixth. Matter of fact, that seems like a pretty good battle potentially brewing. Between Williams in sixth and Tom Janikowski in seventh. How about that for old Jano? Mike Marini currently runs eighth. He's got his fellow Canadian Matt McDonald behind him in ninth. And it's last week's winner, Justin Belmonte, rounding out the top 10. And so 14 cars currently on the lead lap out of 18. With notably series leader Jordan Kalinian one lap down after the contact that resulted in that first caution. And now we'll go on board with reigning Earl Ross Cup champ Blake Thronberg in third. Just trying to sidle up to the back of Jared Ireland here, but nothing doing. Not really in a position to shape for anything right now, as we're already starting to see a little bit of separation on the track. The thing about a place like Kentucky, a number of different lines can work for different drivers. And once something works, not necessarily guaranteed to stay together at that point. And fairly quiet in terms of battling, but from our last update, Justin Belmonte has made his way up a couple of places, and he's looking for a couple more here. He's running 8th, McDonald 7th, Marini 6th. As I wonder if Janikowski may have had something that dropped him down a couple of spots. And it sounds like we've got a retirement coming here in the form of Kyle Knoll. Again, you see him on pit lane. It sounds like, unfortunately, the steering wheel died. And it's, rather fundamental to the operations of a race car of any kind So again, it looks like the 15 is going to be the first retirement here of the evening. As we bring it back to Blake Thronberg on track. Again, just comfortably tucked in behind Jared Ireland right now. 0.2 of a second separating them. Not a whole lot of urgency, as we're down to 15 laps to go in this middle stage. Coming up on half distance overall. And let's see, I think we still have a decent battle going in the middle of the top 10. So let's go to Mike Marini here, currently running in 8th. 5th through 8th looking rather enticing here. John Williams at the head of that pack of 4. Being chased again by last week's winner, Justin Belmonte, and couple of crazy Canadians, Matt McDonald and Mike Marini, who again we're on board with right now, or are focusing on, I should say. And let's see what kind of an answer Marini has. As Belmonte may have a run at 5th here. As a matter of fact, there he goes. Taking the position from John Williams. Let's see if Matt McDonald tries to follow him through. Williams content to hold that lower line right now. As we'll catch things from Matt McDonald's perspective. Running high along that wall there in 7th. As we've just passed the halfway point of tonight's race, we're on to lap 68 of 133 in tonight's Valvoline 200. As part of the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR series presented by Valvoline Instant Oil Change. And again, McDonald hanging tough here with Williams and Marini in close proximity. Belmonte pulling away from them, looking to potentially try to get to that lead group. Not sure if he's going to have enough time to make up 2 seconds, although he's certainly proven himself to be fast. And with a little bit of clean air, he may have a shot at getting to the back of CD Mangrum at minimum there in 4th. Oh, we got something spinning in the background, and that's going to trigger a caution. Second on-track caution of the evening. And just going to see if I can figure out who's involved. Is that Matt McDonald maybe spun around? Let's see. It certainly is looking not ideal here for the 25. And running in close quarters with Marini. And yeah, there's the spin. And just a couple of Canadians running door to door. McDonald gets the worst of it that time. We'll see if there's anything coming for the 12 as a result. But again, that becomes our second incident-related caution of the evening. As we'll go back to our race summary, that'll be our third caution overall if you count the stage caution. And it'll be interesting to see if anyone decides to make an early move into pit lane here with, a handful of laps left in the stage. And indeed, the pit lane parade has started. Jordan Kalinian at the head of it. And confirmation that what we suspected will indeed come to pass in the form of the end of the line penalty for Mike Marini. Jose Mercado stays out. A number of our leaders stay out. Matter of fact, the balance of the top 5 stayed out. And realistically, you're looking at probably 5 green flag laps before the next stage caution comes out. So can't necessarily fault them for prioritizing track position in this situation. And we'll head back to pit lane there as we see Fitzsimmons making his way out. And we'll see if we can get on board with a couple of folks. There's Matt McDonald making his way out. Ryan O'Toole doing the same. And Jordan Kalinian still stationary in pit lane right about now, as that looks like Ryan Gibson about to jump him. And it feels like a bit of an extended stay here for Kalinian in pit lane, so we'll see if there's anything developing out of that. We know he was caught up in that first caution. But again, it'll be Jose Mercado leading them off the line here off of this restart. And let's check on the pace car, and the restart will be coming this upcoming lap. So we'll have 7 green flag laps headed into this second stage caution, assuming we make it that far. As now you have the field gridding up behind. And suddenly, again, that gets Ryan Gibson back on the lead lap here. He'll move up to 12th, I would think, with Marini getting the end of the line penalty. And as they come through 3, we'll bring it back to Jose Mercado at the head of the field. Just waiting for the pace car to peel off, which it should do around turn 4. Should be an interesting restart here. We have Mercado and Thronberg side by side. It'll be Ireland 3rd, Mangrum 4th. Should be Justin Belmonte rounding out the top 5. And indeed it is on the inside line. Mercado and Thronberg immediately bowing up side by side here. Mercado with a decent jump. Thronberg trying to go with him. As we're back underway in tonight's Valvoline 200. 7 laps remaining in this stage. Mercado could be under some pressure here. Notably, none of the top 5 came into pit lane on that last caution. And Mario Urcolani, I don't think he came in either. So should be a decent enough group to hang on to relatively hold position here. But Thronberg may have some ideas about taking the lead. And indeed, he is your race leader right now. Jumps Mercado at the start-finish line. Ireland trying to push his way through that low line as well. Mercado, nobody really with him up high. Although he's able to slot in behind Thronberg. A bit of a switch here on the straight. But Thronberg covers off that low line masterfully. Now Ireland trying to get the run out of 4 behind Thronberg. And it looks like he'll snag second. So, top 3 here. Blake Thronberg, Jared Ireland, Jose Mercado. CD Mangrum chasing there in 4th. 3 wide here on the back straight. Justin Belmonte and Scott Bailey. There's a sneaky name here. Sneaky in the context of the kind of evening that Scott Bailey can have. Can be, quiet off the start, but he's a guy who always finds himself there at the end, or almost always. It's always been something I've marveled at with the 8, it has to be said, and now he finds himself 5th. And trying to grab some more here, but it's Ireland and Thronberg side by side. Ireland trying to make the move on the inside of 3. And getting close, but no contact between the 2. It'll be 3 laps to go in the stage as they get to the line. Looks like Thronberg led that lap. And again, still side by side into 1 and 2. Ireland takes the lead. And again, I've said it already here tonight, but Jared Ireland, his car's looking really good right now. Has over the course of the evening. And would not be surprised to see him playing a prominent factor here late. As we're down to 2 laps remaining now in this second stage. Any shenanigans that happen between now and then, of course, will end the stage prematurely. But Jared Ireland looking awfully comfortable out front. See if Thronberg or Mercado can mount a charge here going into the final lap of stage 2. But that gap has opened up fairly nicely here for Ireland as we're on to the final lap now. Just waiting for the board to change. There it is. Lap 80 of 133. And Ireland comes through turn 2 cleanly. And yeah, I know we've been hearing a lot about the Team Scotland fans at the World Cup and how enthusiastic they are. But for stage 2 tonight, the Irish eyes are smiling. Jared Ireland takes stage 2 of tonight's Valvoline 200 as the caution flag flies. And so it'll be Ireland grabbing the stage. Thronberg finishes second. Jose Mercado third. Justin Belmonte fourth. How about Scott Bailey into the top 5? CD Mangrum finishes 6th. Mario Ercolani 7th. Matt McDonald, after that early incident that triggered the last caution, finishes 8th. Mike Marini with a nice fight back to grab 9th and a couple of points. And Adam Wilson takes the final one in 10th here for this stage. So we'll be right back. We'll hear from our title sponsor, Valvoline Instant Oil Change, as we continue coverage of the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR Series Season 7 Valvoline 200 on the E-Motorsports Network YouTube channel on iRacing. So we'll be back shortly.
Good morning, Philip. Time for an oil change. Remember last time?
I'd rather not.
Took 3 hours. You forgot Little Henry's video game. You're not as entertaining as a video game, Philip.
Silence your oil change anxiety at Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Get an expert oil change in about 15 minutes with no appointment needed.
Thanks for coming in.
Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Service you can see, experts you can trust.
And we are back to live coverage of tonight's Valvoline 200 from Kentucky Speedway as part of the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR Series Season 7. And we're going to go on board with Jose Mercado. Of course, he occupies the pole position stall here. So we'll get a good view as to who comes out first. And it looks like it's going to be Scott Bailey doing something here. And it's going to be Bailey out of pit lane first. Like full service there from Mercado. And a competitive run there out of pit lane. So a little bit of a reset. And lo and behold, I literally just said this a minute ago. A guy who finds his way at the end, or toward the end. Here's your race leader, Scott Bailey, driving the Blue Collar Racing number 8 Chevy out of Allendale, Michigan. And the differentiating factor, I'm being told by race control, Scott Bailey only taking 2 tires on that stop. The rest of the field took the full complement of 4. So that obviously got him an extra couple of seconds, and that's what enabled him to jump the field. Now, we'll see if he's a bit of a sitting duck here on this restart. Matter of fact, this seems like a good time for us to check our weather info as the safety car is going around at least once more. And not a whole lot's changed, honestly, in terms of the weather conditions. Air temperature 24 Celsius, 74 Fahrenheit, 26 on track, 79 Fahrenheit. So just down a degree on both sides. So really, fairly consistent, it has to be said, in terms of overall track conditions. Humidity spiking a little bit to 59%, but nothing overly worrisome. As we will go ahead and get rid of our weather info. And we have are gritting up here once again, and it'll be the veteran Scott Bailey who leads them off the line this time. So it's Season 4 Earl Ross Cup champ, Season 6 Earl Ross Cup champ occupying the front row, with Blake Thronberg on the outside. Jared Ireland third. Tonight's pole sitter Jose Mercado starts this one fourth. And last week's winner Justin Belmonte will round it at the top 5. And how about our previous Kentucky winner Ryan Gibson, sneaky in 6th after being a couple laps down earlier. But now the focus is on Bailey, as he'll have control of the field. They get the line. Bailey with a great takeoff. Thronberg spins, and it is going to be, I would think, an immediate caution. Maybe not. We continue on. That is a baffling thing there for iRacing, it has to be said, but Scott Bailey's not going to complain. Neither is Jose Mercado, who finds himself in second all of a sudden, as it looks like both Thronberg and Ireland collected there. As we'll go back roughly a minute as Gibson hits the wall there. As they complete the lap, let's see if we can go back and determine just what happened there off of the restart. And we're going to skip on ahead here. Okay, so there it is off of the, not sure, there it is. Yeah, just wheel spin there for Thronberg, collects Ireland, and yeah, you're started and then you're not. And here's Scott Bailey in the lead. A couple of old heads here battling for it. Scott Bailey and Jose Mercado, two drivers very familiar with one another. As we're inside 50 laps remaining in tonight's not Nordic Aluminum, that was last week, Valvoline 200. And let's see how this battle sorts itself out over the next little bit. Of course, we're looking at one more green flag pit stop. As, let's see, I think that may have been Tomlinson coming back on track. But right now, this is the story at the head of the field. Scott Bailey is your race leader. He, again, former Earl Ross Cup champ in his own right. He of 13 career race victories within the E-Motorsports network. And again, he has Jose Mercado chasing him down. He of 6 career wins, all in the NASCAR Heat era for the 41. So you know he would love to get off the iRacing schneid here if he could. And again, he started on pole tonight, so he's unquestionably fast here at Kentucky. But right now, he's staring at the back of the vintage Dale Jr. 8. Meanwhile, let's skip back a couple of positions where we'll find the 23 of Ryan Gibson again. Got into a little bit of trouble earlier, but now finds himself running in 5th. So Gibby, the original Earl Ross Cup champ way back in 2020, might be finding himself again here in this one. As we'll see if he tracks down CD Mangrum here for 4th. Still a long way to go in this stage, of course, as things seem to have settled down after that dramatic opening to stage 3, which as a result has Blake Thronberg down in 13th, Jared Ireland 14th. As a reminder, they started this stage 2nd and 3rd, so they'll have some time to make up, hoping for something to happen ahead of them to get them back in the game. And now that it appears things have settled down a little bit, we'll go ahead and take a moment to ourselves. We'll take a moment to really amp things up, because it's time to crank it up. muted the entire time. Okay, so as I was saying, thank you to trackcams22.com for the Crank It Up. And again, we don't use their cameras right now, but we've been thankful for their support for years now. Let's see if we can bring back our ticker. And we've got a caution here. What's going on? Oh, wait. I was told that with this particular glitch, we cannot see the green. So, and bear with me. It is absolutely not a caution. Okay, trying to figure this out in real time. Oh, okay, that would do it. Let's see. Let's see if that'll help. Okay, I did type in, custom flag status, maybe. The things that can, okay, there we go. And now, we'll remind everybody, of course, that this is not the Valvoline W, it's the Valvoline 200. As we're down to 24 laps remaining in this one. Scott Bailey holds the lead still. Jose Mercado still chasing in what's been a very aggressive final stage. Great battle between these two. Justin Belmonte trying to get into the mix here as well. So, I think we're back here now. Let me confirm. Hey, we can get a cockpit view. There we go. Lap 110 of 133. Jose Mercado all over the back of Scott Bailey here. And I would imagine somewhere along the line, everybody's made their final pit stops, but I could be wrong on that. Oh no, stint 24. So I think we are still very much in the window here. Mercado trying to make a move there, but Bailey goes to the low line. All right, we've navigated the chaos here, I think. And now we'll go through the field. Let's catch up on everything here. Well, speaking of catching up, we're into pit lane. So I spoke that into existence, I think. And so our leaders, Mercado, Bailey, Gibson stays out. Mangrum, McDonald's, they're in. Ryan Gibson leads this one. And so we'll watch it again from Mercado's perspective. Bailey into his box first. 21 laps to go now in tonight's Valvoline 200. And I would imagine it's full service for Mercado. Yep, there goes the driver's side up, 4 tires. And he's going to squeal out ahead of CD Mangrum here. And I think Bailey's still on pit lane. So Jose Mercado, I wonder if Bailey picked up a penalty here. We'll have to get some confirmation from race control on that. But this is an extended stay for our previous race leader. And confirmation, speeding on pit road for Scott Bailey. Of course, some people wouldn't want to be reminded that helped him pick up his Season 4 Earl Ross Cup title. The speeding in the pit lane side of things. But now the shoe's on the other foot. And as a result, Jose Mercado's rejoining in 4th. Blake Thronberg's currently your leader. But you would have to think you're looking at the net race lead here for Jose Mercado once Thronberg and Ireland come in. And rather ironically, as Ireland's now in, so it's Thronberg by himself here now. We'll see how long the 3 stays out. Of course, it was Thronberg and Ireland that were caught up in that incident to begin stage 3. They'd started stage 3, 2nd, and 3rd. Oh, we're getting some updates. All right, so not to take anything away from the Formula One shenanigans in Monaco, but now the pit road speed monitoring is a lot more sensitive with this iRacing Season 3 update, which is officially official as of tomorrow, but has been very much in play the last few days. And so everybody's waiting for Blake Thronberg here now. Everybody else 1 lap down. Tyler Fitzsimmons is shaping up to be potentially 2 down shortly. Meanwhile, right behind, Jose Mercado and Justin Belmonte, as I think Thronberg is diving into pit lane right now. And, oh, a bit of a slide there. I'll be curious to see if the 3 picks up a penalty there. Bingo. I pretty much called it on the air, but yeah, figured it was looking a little hairy there for Blake Thronberg. And indeed, he will pick up a speeding penalty, so that will effectively end his chances here unless something crazy happens with a caution. But the end result here is Jose Mercado shuffling back to the race lead. Again, that super aggressive bump on the start-finish line there. Able to hold control, though, as Justin Belmonte lurks about 0.6 of a second back. And again, for Jose Mercado, this is a long time coming if he's able to hold. Again, 6 wins all told in his career. But for the last one, again, you have to go all the way back to season 3 in the NASCAR Heat days. And I just got to remember the specific race here. Thankfully, we do have our all-time stats tracked. And yeah, you'd have to go back to the Fix Auto Charlottetown 250 at Phoenix on September 27, 2022. So we're talking 3 3.75 of a year as both Mercado and Belmonte navigate Fitzsimmons. They're the lap traffic. And again, Mercado effectively robbed of the win back at Daytona on account of incident points, I believe. Wasn't able to do that broadcast. Again, shout out to the folks at Leadfoot Racing for handling that one and the ensuing 2 broadcasts afterwards. But now we're back and potentially witnessing the fantastic comeback of the number 41 as we're down to 14 laps to go in tonight's Valvoline 200. So again, it's Jose Mercado leading, Justin Belmonte second, 0.8 of a second back. CD Mangrum runs third, Ryan Gibson fourth, Adam Wilson fifth, but albeit with a lot of separation between those 5 cars. Mike Marini sixth, Mario Ercolani seventh, Jared Ireland is 8th. Again, a bit of a topsy-turvy stage 3 for him after looking so good over the course of the evening. Tom Janikowski runs 9th. And Ryan O'Toole's the last car on the lead lap. He's 10th. As we're down to 13 laps to go now. Mercado holding strong. And again, let's see if there's really isn't a whole lot happening at the head of the field or throughout the field right now, it has to be said. So again, let's go back to our Season 1 Earl Ross Cup champ, Ryan Gibson, running a very admirable 4th place after being off for a couple weeks. Oh, no, Mercado, no. Engine gone for the 41. You see him going down the pit wall. No, that is absolutely gut-wrenching for the 41. Let's see if we can go back and see what happened. So, we're on. So, getting word that it's a downshift issue here, as we'll go ahead and take the custom flag off. At least we'll attempt to. Oh, disable it. There we go. And yeah, there it is. Just bing, bang, boom. Unfortunately for the 41, that is heartbreaking given the run he was having. And again, we just talked about the extent of the winless drought here for the 41. It's going to continue. Now, the beneficiary of that is the number 60 of Justin Belmonte. As again, it is not a caution. Let's go ahead and clarify that straight away. As we're down to 10 laps to go, suddenly a brand new ball game. Justin Belmonte leads this one, CD Mangrum second, Ryan Gibson in third, Adam Wilson fourth, Mike Marini rounds out your top five. And again, that is just a gut-wrenching sequence there for 41, who looked like he had clear track, just the extra downshift did him in. As we'll go to our race leader, we'll get onto the proper camera for him. As we're down to, it will be 8 laps to go. There it is. And Belmonte poised to go back-to-back here, but we'll see if CD Mangrum has something to say about that in the late going. Don't even count Ryan Gibson out of this one either. Again, the one former winner at Kentucky that we have in the series. Could be something to be said for that, but Justin Belmonte suddenly handed a golden opportunity here. As his leads now, it was up to 0.8 of a second. Mangrum cutting into that briefly. And a little touch off the wall there for Belmonte. Another scrub off the wall into 3. Belmonte not exactly taking the easy route to make this one happen, is he? Obviously trying to maximize the speed. But hanging in there with 6 laps to go whenever that changes. There it goes. And again, the complexion of this race just totally flipped on its head about 5 laps ago. And again, suddenly, number 60 staring at back-to-back wins. Okay, as we're down to 5 remaining here now, as Belmonte's just crossed the line. Lead up to roughly a second on second place, CD Mangrum. Again, Ryan Gibson hanging in there in third. As the field's relatively spread itself out, albeit we will take a peek at this battle between Jared Ireland and Mario Ercolani, if Ireland can slingshot past his teammate Scott Bailey, and he does. Ireland trying to catch Ercolani for 6th on track. And again, I'll be very curious to see how this shakes up the in-season challenge, as we're going to be whittling down the field to 16 going into next week's race at the Daytona Road Course. And this admittedly looks like the closest battle we're seeing on track right now. Unless Ryan Gibson potentially has something to say about second place. So let's go up to him. As they're coming through here to be 2, I believe. Yeah, onto the back straights. And we'll get one last cockpit view. It looks like that gap could be insurmountable, as they're coming up to 2 to go now in tonight's Valvoline 200. And there's Gibby crossing the line. Again, 2 to go in this one. And it is looking all good here for Justin Belmonte, driving that Warrior Racing Ford out of East Patchogue, New York. Staring down win number 7 of his E-Motorsports Network career. 2nd of the season, potentially, if he's able to hang on for the next roughly 2 miles. Actually, 1.5 miles, because he's just taken the white flag. It is not a caution. There we go. White flag. Final lap of tonight's Valvoline 200. And it's Belmonte in the driver's seat. Through turn 2. Onto the back straight. Gap continuing to rise. And so, as he comes through turns 3 and 4, gets the pedal down one last time. Belmonte goes back to back. It's Justin Belmonte winning tonight's Valvoline 200. CD Mangrum 2nd, Ryan Gibson in 3rd. As we'll get everybody crossing over. And yeah, you have the fireworks going Justin Belmonte, he's been explosive these last 2 weeks. And, he might feel, some kind of way about tonight, given, the unfortunate circumstances that befell Jose Mercado ahead of him. But Belmonte's the beneficiary, as he'll get himself another round of donuts here. He got his fill at Atlanta last week. Now he's going to get some in Kentucky as well. And so this should be a fascinating post-race interview chat, one you will actually hear this time once I actually make sure I get the audio correct. And yeah, we'll go ahead and get our boards up to date, and we'll actually turn the ticker off as Belmonte's done with his burnout. So that gives us the window here to check in on our unofficial results for tonight's Valvoline 200. And once again, it's Belmonte at the top. Second win of the season, 7th of his E-Motorsports Network career. CD Mangrum finishes second, 1.4 seconds back. And again, how about Ryan Gibson grabbing 3rd place here tonight? Great return to form here for the 23. Adam Wilson builds on recent momentum, finishing 4th. And how about Mike Marini doing the same, completing our top 5? Jared Ireland finishes 6th. Mario Ercolani in 7th. Tom Janikowski 8th. Ryan O'Toole, once again, the last car on the lead lap, in 9th. And then you have Scott Bailey rounding out the top 10 in his return to the series after a couple weeks away. As we'll go through the rest of the field now, you have Matt McDonald, Blake Thronberg, and Tyler Fitzsimmons a lap down each. All had their moments, Thronberg especially, albeit with the speeding penalty ultimately doing him in stage 3. Jordan Kalinian with a bit of a night to forget, 5 laps down in 14th. And then, again, you have the heartbreak of Jose Mercado there in 15th, 11 laps down after the engine went. And then you have John Williams and Mason Tomlinson, 13 laps down apiece. And Kyle Knoll with a steering wheel problem in his rig that finishes off our classified runners here, 18 over the course of the evening. And we'll see if that gives us some time to get into the Discord and see if we got some drivers waiting for us. As I said, it should be a very interesting conversation given recent events. And yeah, so I will go ahead and move into the top 3 chat on the Discord side of things, just waiting for our top 3 to officially come in. And it looks like they're all waiting here. I'm not sure if I'm dragging them into the top 3 chat or how this is going. It looks like they're all set, though. Just going to make sure that, again, I actually turn on their audio again. We had, again, a great chat with our top 3 last week, but unfortunately, nobody heard that one. So we'll make sure that we've got it clarified here this time around, as we will go ahead and unmute. I'm going to make sure that our capture is okay. We should be all set here, and I'm just going to hop into the Discord real quick. And so we will do this in, let's see, what order do we want to bring them in? You know what? Let's do it full on reverse F1 podium style. So first coming in out of Morgantown, West Virginia, will be the number 23 Blue Collar Racing Chevy of Ryan Gibson. And Gibby, do we have a copy, my friend?
Copy.
Yes, sir. And we've got some levels. That means everyone will hear you, and it's been a long time coming, and we'll get to that in a minute. Next up, in second place, the number 1 Tornado Alley E-Racing Toyota of CD Mangrum out of Atlanta, Georgia. Mr. Mangrum, copy.
Hello?
Yes, sir. We got you. And
Hello?
Yep,
You can hear me?
I got you. And
How you doing, buddy?
yeah, there we go. And after, another week of chaos, we bring in tonight's race winner, And he's back to back now. It's the number 60 Warrior Racing Ford out of East Patchogue, New York. It's Justin Belmonte. JB, do we have a copy?
Yes, sir. How we doing?
We're doing great after a very interesting race here, particularly that last sequence. And we'll definitely be chatting with all of you guys here. But yeah, Justin, I'm going to start with you, obviously going back to back after the events of last week in Atlanta, carried over to Kentucky with the momentum. And the car looked great over the course of the evening, it has to be said. So, in terms of your overall prep and approach to Kentucky here tonight, what do you think was the biggest key to your success?
My car was really good in the long run. I was good at saving tires and making them last. And that first stage, I didn't take any tires, and that put me in the lead, which was super huge. And then I slid through my box and put me in dirty air, and it was tough to get back up there. It drove very different from clean air to dirty air.
Yeah, I mean, certainly we saw the end result of that in the final, again, 11 to 12 laps. We'll get into that in a moment, but yeah, we'll check in with CD Mangrum here now from your perspective. You were up there for a good chunk of the evening, and from your perspective, there were a couple of weeks that maybe weren't the best here for you. How are you feeling now to turn around a positive result this time?
Yeah, feels good. We're out for stage points tonight. We got those and ended up with a good finish. Had some equipment issues at Richmond and Mexico. We were lucky enough to get stage points at Richmond. Not this so much at Mexico. Kind of dropped us into points, but we got those fixed. We toughed out top 10 last week after wrecking ourselves. 10 stage 1 at Atlanta. But yep, it's great to get a P2 after all that. There's a lot going on out there. Um, hate that for Jose though, really, really do. When we saw he had the problem, I tried to hammer down a little bit harder to catch Jay Cuz, but yeah, it just wasn't enough. Just wasn't able to get the bite out of 3 and 4 that I needed. But all in all, a good night.
And admittedly, there was a chat earlier that suggested this may be a CD Mangrum track, and certainly
Yeah,
that's come
heard
to
about that.
fruition here. And now, for the first time in probably 5, 6 years, give or take, I'm chatting with one Ryan Gibson. So first of all, great to chat with you, sir.
Yeah, it's good to talk to you again.
Yeah, again, been a minute. A guy who knows his way around Kentucky Speedway in a couple of different contexts here as a former winner back in season 1. So, obviously, first race back after a couple weeks away. What was the process like for you in terms of just getting comfortable behind the wheel again? Because you had to make your way through the field over the course of the evening, and ultimately, it's produced a solid result here for you.
Yeah, those 2 weeks I had to miss, but going into tonight I was pretty nervous. I didn't know what to expect at all. Um, but yeah, I was 3 laps down at one point, and everything worked out, and got back up there and was able to kind of hang on to the CD there for a while, and I figured if I could hang on to him, I could end up getting a good finish.
Yeah, and ultimately that has absolutely worked out in your favor here. So again, fabulous return here for you. Let's kick it back to Justin here for a moment. CD alluded to it there a moment ago, but obviously you were chasing down Jose Mercado after that last round of pit stops, and then suddenly the engine goes by the sounds of it. So from your perspective, like obviously everybody knows you two are pretty tight, but as a racer, how what was the process like for you to just kind of lock in as soon as that happened and you had the clear track ahead?
Yeah, definitely hate that for Jose. It's a brutal way to go out of the lead like that. Um, I wasn't sure what to think because it was kind of unexpected, and I mean, it's great to get a win, but really wanted to see Jose get that one. He had it in the bag. Whoever came out in front through that last pit cycle, I think, was going to have it. and he got me by just a little bit, and it was his race to win for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, racing things happen, right? And then, yeah, as I say, ultimately you inherit the race lead at that particular point, and a little bit of a different set of circumstances. Maybe didn't quite have to defend as heavily as last week at Atlanta, but again, what was sort of the mindset locking in and just making sure you kept it clean over those last few laps to see it through?
You just had to hit your marks, maintain the tires a little bit, and not overdrive it. I mean, it was super easy to drive it in deep into 3 and 4 and wreck the right front pretty good. So as long as I kept running my pace, I was pretty confident I was going to be all right.
Yeah, and then CD, from your perspective here, obviously, a couple of incidents on track, but largely, once guys got into space, it seemed like things were relatively straightforward. But from your perspective, like, I know sometimes whenever you kind of get into that rhythm, sometimes you can sort of not zone out, but sort of, lose like lose focus or not kind of
Mm.
be fully locked in. So, from your perspective, again, you knew you had to get the, strong finish to sort of make up for the last couple of weeks. What was it like for you just kind of, again, locking in and making sure, as Justin was saying, making sure you're kind of hitting your marks and making sure you kind of saw it through?
For me, it was just about being patient. Started at I think 10th, and we took two tires there in the first stage. Got some track position. Got some track position in the second stage too with the two tires. All in all, just yeah, just locked in, trying to be patient, be fast. I felt like you know the car didn't really get as tight as I thought it would, and it absolutely wasn't loose at all. So that helped out a lot. Um, yeah, I haven't driven at Kentucky in a long time, probably years. So it was different, but I mean that's really just the motto for the year is to be patient, get his run clean, get our stage points where we can, get you know our moments where we can, and continue from there. Um, Trying to finish better than we started.
There you go. And yeah, you sort of alluded to a key point that I was referencing throughout the evening. It's been a few years since we've been at Kentucky, never in the iRacing era before now. And again, we do
Right.
have a former Kentucky winner in the chat. So we'll swing it back to Gibby here now. And you referenced this in your previous answer, but yeah, at one point you were as many as 3 laps down and you'd started toward the back of the field as well. So kind of take me through the process of being able to work your way through the field and maybe displaying some of that patience that both Justin and CD have alluded to in their own races.
Yeah, I've never been a great qualifier, so when I start in the back, it doesn't really phase me because I just want to take my time and try to save my stuff and make sure I actually get to be able to finish the race. Um, but um the I ended up speeding on pit road coming off of it, and that's what really set me back. And I didn't know how it was going to end up towards the end of the race. I'm glad it happened early when I messed up, and then I was kind of able to focus and bear down and work my way up.
Yeah, definitely a few drivers tonight, to your point, getting caught out by perhaps some increased pit lane sensitivity there with the new iRacing update. So certainly something to watch for moving forward. And, we'll be moving forward to the Daytona Road Course next week, which again will present its own interesting set of challenges. So I'll open this one up to the floor here. So yeah, anyone can sort of answer and provide their own opinions on this one. Just, yeah, overall sense of kind of expectation for what you're thinking next week's going to be like on that configuration.
Just survive. Just survive. That's the best we can do at road courses.
Yeah, stay on
Turn
the
it,
track, survive.
turning both
All that
ways
good
isn't
stuff.
that fun.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, it's the
It's the
definitely.
sunrise race. It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, that's a
It's a
different
beautiful way to wake up.
different variable there as well for sure. And yeah, before we sort of cut loose here for the evening, yeah, just again for all three of you, just yeah, maybe a quick acknowledgement of the folks that kind of help you out and make sure that you're here racing with us every week. So we'll go top of the podium down to three. So we'll start with Justin.
Yeah, shout out Warrior Racing, GTR Motorsports, and you guys for putting the broadcast on and everything you guys have been doing. It's been a good season so far, so hopefully we keep it up.
All right, CD.
Shout out to North Aluminum always for the sponsorship. Tornado Alley E-Racing, my teammates, my owner. GTR Motorsports, always a great time with that affiliation. Shout out to the fans. Mostly shout out to the fans. They really enjoy this, and shout out to the admins, broadcast, everyone that helps to put this together.
All right, Gibby, like the country roads, take us home.
I'd like to shout out to Blue Collar Racing, Jared and Scott. They both had good races up until they didn't. Also like to thank Gene's Beer Garden and also you guys and everybody behind the scenes that puts this all together.
All right. Well, it's been fantastic chatting with all of you. And now that we've fixed up some technical stuff, everybody's going to hear it this time as opposed to last week. So we're all good moving forward. And yeah, again, thanks again for the time. Congratulations on the finishes. And yeah, we will see you at the Daytona Road Course a week from now.
Thank you, man. Cool.
Yeah, thanks,
Go
Jordan.
Braves.
All right. All right, and that's our top three for tonight's Valvoline 200 at Kentucky Speedway. And we'll hear from our title sponsor one more time before we set up next week here for you, so stick around.
Good morning, Philip. Time for an oil change. Remember last time?
I'd rather not.
Took 3 hours. You forgot Little Henry's video game. You're not as entertaining as a video game, Philip.
Silence your oil change anxiety at Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Get an expert oil change in about 15 minutes with no appointment needed.
Thanks for coming in.
Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Service you can see, experts you can trust.
All right, folks, that's going to put a lid on tonight's Valvoline 200 coverage from the virtual Kentucky Speedway in Sparta, Kentucky. But next week, as CD Mangrum alluded to, it is the Nordic Aluminum Sunrise GP at the Daytona International Speedway road course configuration. That's going to be interesting. That'll be a first time, I believe, for us there as well. So, a lot of kind of unique circumstances here. And, we're happy to be trying that one out. And that's going to go next Monday, June 22nd. Broadcast will begin roughly 7:45 p.m. Eastern Time. In the meantime, check out simracerhub.com, search for the E-Motorsports Network for the most up-to-date standings for our full season as well as our in-season challenge, which at this point will now be cutting the field down to 16 for the next round. And yeah, we'll see how that progresses. But for now, we hope you've enjoyed tonight's coverage of the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR series presented by Valvoline Instant Oil Change. That was the Valvoline 200 from Kentucky Speedway. And for all of our sponsors, drivers, competition committee, fans, and all of our viewers, we appreciate you all. I'm Jordy Caraher, and very happy to be back in the saddle here, and we will see you next week at the Daytona Road Course. It's time for the sun to rise, boys. Let's go.
Good morning, Philip. Time for an oil change. Remember last time?
I'd rather not.
Took 3 hours. You forgot Little Henry's video game. You're not as entertaining as a video game, Philip.
Silence your oil change anxiety at Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Get an expert oil change in about 15 minutes with no appointment needed.
Thanks for coming in.
Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Service you can see, experts you can trust.